You claimed that he can't conceive of a different solution. No, he can. He absolutely can. I'm 100% sure that if you go up to him and say, you know how you can alleviate traffic? Move out to a rural area. And he goes, oh, of course. I don't want to live in a rural area. I like living in a city. Now, how do we fix the city? Moving away from the city doesn't fix the city.
I could still have all of this, not get rid of cars, but I guess I wouldn't be able to order Uber Eats as often.
Uber Eats is part of the problem. Uber Eats is only necessary when you don't live in a 15-minute city. You fucking moron. You gave an example that is the opposite of what people are asking for. People want to get away from Uber Eats.
So they would rather just surrender to the likes of the WEF. It's absolutely insane.
Fuck you. Fuck you and your conspiracy theory. This has nothing to do with the WEF. Fuck you. I have, in the past few months at least, maybe up to a year, been kind of interested in how our cities are planned and what that planning does to people. How America was hijacked by the car industry in order to sell more cars. How they bought up public transportation just to shut it down, just to make it so unworkable that people bought their own cars. And then they could justify, hey, nobody rides these things. They're all driving their own cars. Let's focus public resources to building more roads, which led to the destruction of American cities, to the mandatory parking requirements. Like, you can't build a building without a minimum amount of parking lots. Like, that is crazy. And the amount of parking lots is astronomical compared to Europe. There is a movement in America called the 15-minute city. And the idea behind this movement is you should be able to live within 15 minutes. Cities should be constructed in such a way that if you live within the city borders, there should be 15 minutes from between your home and entertainment, between your home and a grocery store. Like, you shouldn't have to walk further than 15 minutes. Where I live, I have 15 minutes, maybe 20 on a slow day, to the city. But I also have maybe 5 minutes to woods. I have ample greenery around me. And yet I have 15 minutes into the city. Why am I saying all this? Well, because of Chen. I've watched a little bit of this video. And I thought this, of course, she'd come out against the 15-minute city. Against making cities more livable. So I thought it would be fun. I was supposed to watch this last stream, but for some reason the link just disappeared, and I completely forgot what it was that I had linked. And I knew it was Lauren, but I couldn't find the actual video because I didn't go to Blaze TV. So we're gonna watch this and see what she has to say.
Chen here, 15-minute cities. They're a topic that's coming up in the news and
We need more volume.
increasing amount, but are they as harmless or as harmful as people are saying? Let's discuss. So if you're not familiar with what a 15-minute city is, as someone who supports them describes, quote, the 15-minute city by urbanist Carlos Moreno is the belief that every neighborhood should have access to work, housing, food, health, education, and leisure within a 15-minute walk. It's a really simple but transformative goal. And that's a definition provided by Hayden Clarkin on Twitter. And as you can see by the 20.5 thousand likes that this post garnered, clearly there are a lot of people who are supportive of this concept. I mean, who wouldn't want that? To just be a short 15-minute walk away from everything they could need, from grocery stores, restaurants, a park, perhaps even your work. I mean, you'd have to be crazy and hate convenience to not like that, right?
Yeah. Like, you're saying it in the most condescending tone ever. By the way, my pause game. And like you're saying it like we're crazy for wanting this. But yeah, you have to be crazy to not think this is a good idea. Mind you, not that everyone needs to live this way. Nobody's arguing that everyone should live this way, but that cities should be constructed that way. Because in America right now, you have zoning laws that are so fucking stupid that it's crazy. You can't have a 3-story building with shops at the bottom and people living or apartments on top. That's not allowed in most areas in America right now. And that's the issue. That's the core of the issue. And you're here going, you have to be crazy not to want that, right? Well, let's hear your arguments, Lauren.
Well, as we're going to be getting into, there's good reason to believe that the people who are advocating for 15-minute cities actually have way more insidious goals than they'll admit. But hey, even if we take things at face value, no, this is a terrible idea that just reeks of, at best case scenario, big government and bureaucratic central planning. I'm going to be explaining exactly what I mean by that. But first,
it's a city. How are you? It's a city. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here.
I do want to say a big thank you to today's sponsor.
Nope. Wait, this is all... Oh my God. Like, that is from 120. That's a 2 minutes ad read.
Okay, a lot of you who are watching this might be like, okay, Lauren, I'm not for the Great Reset, the folks over at WEF, but really, what could be so bad about a 15-minute city? Well,
the Great Reset. The urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneous managing the direct consequence of the COVID-19 crisis to improve the state of the world. As we enter a unique window of opportunity to shape the recovery, this initiative will offer insight to help inform all those determining the future state of global relations, the direction of national. It's just like, we can make a better world if we do this. I don't like the World Economic Forums, but I mean, not everything they do is insidious.
You have to understand that this is a plan that would be carried out by a top-down approach by most likely nameless, faceless bureaucrats. And just think—
Who else? It's a city. It's not your personal home they're talking about. It's the public home. Who else? Who the fuck else would be able to run a city?
of the harm that overzealous urban planning has done to places like San Francisco and New York. Have you tried to get housing in either of these two cities? Okay, there is a reason why it's so hard. There's regulation upon regulation that, yes, those laws, those policies were instituted in order to help people to make housing more affordable. It's only done the opposite, though. So if we give—
Zoning in San Francisco. Let's see here. Is there a lot of mixed zoning laws or zoning in San Francisco? Because that is what we're looking for. You're not gonna show me. I have to search? Or do I just have to zoom in enough? Because I doubt there's what happened? Give me the map. I doubt there's a lot of mixed zoning in okay, let's see here. Property. So I'm just gonna, okay. Environmental zoning district. Here we go. Okay, here we go. And what are the, there's not a, so okay. I'm guessing the pink is business zoning. Because this is a metro and this is a major street. And you're usually going to have businesses along that line. But then what is red here? Is red mixed zoning perhaps? So this isn't going to tell me much, is it? Okay. Oh, well.
Urban planners control of literally everything. We allow them to plan entire quadrants over work, leisure, and residence. Do you think they're going to fare any better than they already have with just their more minimal responsibilities? I don't think so. Francisco and New York. Have you tried to get housing in either of these two cities? Okay, there is a reason why it's so hard. There's regulation upon regulation that, yes, those laws, those policies were instituted in order to help people to make housing more affordable. It's only done the opposite, though. So if we give urban planners—
So because people have done badly in the past, we shouldn't try to do better in the future. Is that your argument? That is seriously her argument. No. We can't try to do better. People tried to do better in the past, and that didn't work. Oh, well, you want democracy. Have you really thought about this? You're a peasant in the 1600s, and you want a say in how your government functions? No, of course you can't. Have you heard what happened to Rome? That shit burned down. That is what always happens to democracies. So we can't even try to do better. We can't even try democracy again because it didn't work that time. Okay? Now shut up and go back to tilling the soil, okay? Don't try to make things better.
planners control of literally everything. We allow them to plan entire quadrants over work, leisure, and residence. Do you think they're going to fare any better than they already have with just their more minimal responsibilities? I don't think so. And you have to understand that under something like a 15-minute city, you could want to open a restaurant in a neighborhood, but be told by some council, like, you know what, we actually already have a restaurant, but what we don't have in this neighborhood is some trans strip club because, oh, we have to involve leisure in this. So unless you're looking to open that, we don't want to talk to you.
Instead, what happens is you say, hey, I want to open a restaurant in this neighborhood. We live... let's see. We live here. Open image. I live here. And I want to open a restaurant in this neighborhood because we live in a hellscape. American suburb. Because we live... Open image. I live here. Right in the middle. And I want to open a restaurant here. Because I think people around here want some entertainment, want some place to eat, you know, some leisure time, instead of having to take the car everywhere. You know what happens? You get a big fat no from the homeowners association instead. Because, hey, that's property that people could live in. And you opening a restaurant there would invite people from outside the neighborhood. And we can't have that. What she's talking about is already the reality in America.
Do you really, as a business owner, just as a resident, want to go through those extra hurdles when you're just trying to live your life? I really don't think so. And we can't forget that this entire concept is really just anti-suburbia and anti-rural living.
Yes. Oh, God, yes. Fuck yes. Fuck the suburbs.
People who come up with these types of schemes, they are urbanites to their core.
But also, this wouldn't affect the suburbs. The suburbs are not going to be forced into this necessarily, but they should be. We can conceive of a world where there are still suburbs, where white people can live by themselves, away from the minorities, from the scary people, and drive their little what are they called? The SUVs. They can drive, or not the little SUV. They're massive SUVs. Drive over kids as they're driving towards the nearest park, where, oh my God, Turkish drive-in park. Oh, I know I saw. Give me a moment. I'm getting to your message place. Give me a moment. I just need this. Adam something. Here, Adam something just discovered. I have seen hell, and now you have to see it. A car-centric picnic area in Turkey. You have a car-centric picnic area in Turkey. I was listening to a pro solar punk video yesterday. Link it. That sounds interesting, actually. But this is hell. This is actually, like, you want to drive your fucking SUV over the kids playing in the middle of the street towards the drive-through picnic area. That is what Lauren Chen is advocating for, instead of instead of this. Because this is hell to her. This is hell for Lauren. Oh, could you imagine? You live up here, and there are people down here going to bars, going to shops. Ugh. I can understand having an initial reaction towards the mega blocks that that Madrid, I believe, or is it Barcelona? I think it's Madrid. Barcelona, okay. That Barcelona has. The idea behind Barcelona's mega blocks is you can have a car go through here and here and so in a grid pattern. But inside these walls, there are no cars allowed unless they have a specific business purpose. You can drive in through one way and you can drive out through one way. All other exits are for walking. What this does, and of course there's subways and stuff like that, that's so you don't have to take a car. What this means is people can live Milan mega blocks. No, not mega. Did I say Milan? Isn't but the Barcelona super block. What these super okay, it's even bigger. So these roads are walkable and bicyclable, but these are drivable. And what this means is you have a human scale livable area where people can walk about without fear of being run over by a fucking SUV. You can have kids playing at the playground. You have trees growing. You have shops. You have restaurants at the bottom floor. And everything above that is usually livable area. But this is bureaucratic overreach, according to Lauren Chen.
There are people who've probably never seen
I'll look at it after this video, Blaze.
a tree, quite frankly, and they are against the idea that you have space or land at all. In a perfect world.
No, we're not. Absolutely not. If you want that, live outside the city. Outside the city, there is land. You can own that land if we're supposed to have. But inside the city is very cramped. It is a tight space where a lot of people are supposed to live. You can't own 100 acres in the city and go, what? It's all mine. This is all mine. What are you supposed to do? Walk here? No, you can't. This is my land. Fuck that shit. Oh, and New York. Blaze, you live in Poland, if I'm not mistaken, right? Can you tell me what existed in Central Park before Central Park? Nope. You know why? Because that is history that almost nobody talks about. Look at this. Like, the aerial view is mesmerizing of New York. These are, I mean, look at the scale of these buildings. And that gives you an idea of the size of this park. Like, it is massive, smack dab in the middle of Manhattan. And except, fuck you. Before Central Park, the story of Seneca Village. Before Central Park was created, the landscape along what is now the park perimeter from West 82nd to West 89th Street was the site of Seneca Village, a community of predominantly African American, many of whom owned property. I wonder why they put the park in this area. I wonder. By 1855, the village considered approximately 255 residents. That 225, that's nothing. Made up of roughly two-thirds African American, one-third Irish immigrants, and a small number of individuals of German descent. One of few African American enclaves at the time, Seneca Village allowed residents to live away from the more built-up sections of downtown Manhattan and escape the unhealthy conditions of racial discrimination they faced there. They demolished one of the few places that was primarily African American owned, just to put a fucking park there. All so that the white people in the surrounding areas had a nice little park to visit. And they could do this. They couldn't force, because I'm sure a lot of businesses tried to run the African American people out of their homes to buy up the land underneath and build just skyrises. They couldn't do that. But there is a law. I don't know which law exactly. But I'm sure if I read this article, I can find it. It doesn't matter. It exists. There's a law that says the government, the US government, can deem areas parks and just buy out the land from the owners for cheap. And that is what they did. And this isn't an isolated instance. There are multiple places like these. A lot of lakes in America used to be African American owned cities. Not everything, not all formerly primarily African American areas had the Tulsa massacre happen to them. Not just for parks, but I believe it's primarily used for parks. But it can't be used for private businesses, I believe. It has to be government sanctioned stuff. So all that, my point is, the government has already fucked up here. I have to remember what she said here.
Involve leisure in this. So unless you're looking...
Right, land ownership and stuff like that. The government has fucked over people when doing shit like this in the past. Now there's a movement that says, hey, wouldn't it be better if we built some mixed zoning areas so the people could live and work and have leisure within the same fucking area? And Lauren Chen hates that because she hates people.
Probably never seen a tree, quite frankly.
Have never seen a tree. Listen to this condescension.
Just anti-suburbia and anti-rural living. The people who come up with these types of schemes.
American suburb. Let's just keep this image. Let's just keep this image right here as we listen to her words.
They are urbanites to their core. There are people who've probably never seen a tree, quite frankly.
Never seen a tree, quite frankly. Can you point to the tree? Can you point to the tree? Yes, you can. Trees, 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 trees. Where's the tree, Lauren? Oh, I see some. I see the shadows. I see the shadows. I wonder which of these have more trees.
And they are against the idea that you have space or land at all. In a perfect world, I'm not exaggerating, a 15-minute walk, I would still be on my own property. I won't have even seen my neighbor because I want land, I want acreage, I want to be able to grow my own food. That is exactly the type of lifestyle that could never exist in a 15-minute city.
That is the exact type of lifestyle that could never exist within a city, let alone a suburb. You want acres of land, Lauren.
Property. I won't have even seen my neighbor because I want land. I want to have space or land at all. In a perfect world, I'm not exaggerating, a 15-minute walk, I would still be on my own property. I won't have even seen my neighbor.
Imagine if everyone had a 15-minute walk to the nearest neighbor. 15 minutes. Do you know how long that is? How big of a fucking area that is? That is humongous.
Because I want land, I want acreage, I want to be able to grow my own food. That is exactly the type of lifestyle.
This is anti-humanist, by the way. This is literally anti-humanist.
Never exists in a 15-minute city. And really so much of this urban planning comes down to these people being anti-freedom and more specifically anti-car. You see, at the core...
Yeah, I'm anti-car. 100%. Not that I want cars to be banned, but I don't want the cars to rule the world, which they do at the moment. I live in an area where I need a car to survive. Not daily, not to get to work and stuff, but for convenience. Instead of having to wait for a bus, cars should be niche. Yeah, exactly. Cars should be a necessity when not a necessity. Cars should be a luxury when necessary. They shouldn't be a daily thing in a perfect world. Now, we can never probably come to that perfect world. There are areas that are always going to need cars in the modern world. Areas where you have a 15-minute walk to the nearest neighbor. In that world, yeah, you're going to need a car. But in a city?
There's also a very strange just desire for people to not own their own vehicles. We see this other Twitter post, someone by Anges Otrun.
Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. Damn. Like that's the thing that America is missing. That is, America is 100% just missing this.
Apologize for messing that up, but she writes, less space for cars means more space for plants, pedestrians, bikes, benches, businesses, coffees, slides, and trees. Because don't forget, 15-minute cities, we're talking about a 15-minute walk to everything you need. Not cars. Cars don't really come into play here at all. And with this post, she includes these beautiful photos of, hey, don't you want just more space for cafes and leisure and recreation? Clearly,
Why are you having that tone?
This is someone who lives in a city, right? I live out in the suburbs right now. I've lived rural before, hoping to live rural again. We don't have 15-minute cities, and there's no shortage of restaurants. There's no shortage of parks and green spaces. So the idea that you have to surrender your cities to these urban planners in order to have plants and trees, it's like, no, please, for the love of all that is good, leave your city bubble once in a while and realize that people can have all of these things without living under the strong arm of bureaucrats, okay?
How? How are you gonna have this dense area with cafes, with shops, with restaurants, with trees and plants and outdoor spaces? Connect the dots, lady. Why do you think folks plan camping trips? Yeah. You can't have this in a city, which is what people are asking for, you dumb cunt, without planning, without proper zoning.
Of parks and green spaces. So the idea that you have to surrender your cities to these urban planners in order to have plants and trees, it's like, no, please, for the love of all that is good, leave your city bubble once in a while and realize that people can have all.
And you know what, Blaze? Cities don't have to be that stressful. It is not the cities that are stressful. It's the cars. It's the culture. City life in and of itself does not need to be stressful. It can work perfectly fine as long as you have proper zoning, as long as you have proper space to exist as a person. Because that is what a lot of, especially American cities, are missing. And frankly, big cities in Europe as well. But it is getting better. We can look at, just go to Italy. Italia. Italy, old city. Now, how stressful do you really think it is to live here? I don't think it's stressful to live here. I think the places here are quite serene to live in. Quite human-centric. I need to sneeze. Come on. There we go. Sorry about that. I don't think it's cities inherently that are the culprit here. It is for sure the way we've planned our cities. I've played Mirror's Edge, both 1 and 2, and of course they killed the second game by making it an open world game. Probably one of the worst open world games. They should have made it more, and yeah, I've seen Neon Flux, of course. They should have made that game more like, I haven't played it, but White Dragon? Those places are so clean, but I often think about what is off screen and trash and nature. No, not White Dragon. I don't think the Grand Canyon still exists. Yeah, true. I don't think in Mirror's Edge that it's actually a lot of trash. Because the whole point of that game is how clean it is. Not the point of the game, but the point of the world as it looks is the game. I don't think it's a lot of trash there. The government would probably shoot you on sight if you littered in Mirror's Edge, at least. I haven't watched Aeon Flux in a very long time, and the only images I get up is the fly being trapped in the eyelids, and oh my god, I'm itching all over. Oh, there we go. And the person almost falling on deadly spiked grass. Those are the only two images, apart from the art style, that I have in my mind. So I can't speak to Aeon Flux. Anyway, she is just against cities being more human-centric. You don't have to live in the city. You are free to live in the suburbs, though I don't think suburbs should exist in the way they are. The optimal way for... So you have the city. I'm just going to make it... let's make it... Okay, never mind. The optimal way for cities to be constructed, you have the city center, okay? And then you have less and less, and of course, not going to be perfect circles, less and less dense areas the further you get out of the city. Like this is, like the topology is just a ramp up and then you're going to have some areas where it is highly sought after, and you're going to have some overlap and stuff like this. So you're going to have all of this, and then... But the main topology, like the main way a city should... Like if you watch a graph of density and you overlay all cities on top of each other, this should probably be the most accurate representation of it. And if you want to live out here, like we can just make a little dot. If you want to live here, Lauren, that is perfectly fine. Nobody's going to say anything. And you can commute probably... of course. If you want to, you can take your car here and then you can take your car here and then here. But you know what? You can't go further than this. From here, if you want to go into the city, you have to take the subway. But the subway also runs out there. That is, in my opinion, as someone who has no knowledge of city planning, the optimal way to plan a city. There should be no cars inside this area. There should be bikes to rent. There should be subways or trams or buses or whatever you need to get around in this area. And if you live here, it should be a 15-minute walk wherever you go. Out here, maybe it's a 20-minute walk. Out here, 30. Out here, an hour. Out here, eternity.
All of these things without living under the strong arm of bureaucrats, okay? This is not a unique or new concept to have coffees and trees, all right? They're
Nobody said that.
They're inventing something revolutionary. It's like,
nobody
no, you can
said
have
that.
all this without living in some dystopian pod world. Okay.
Okay, I have to. I we need to get through this video, but I mean, I have to. Los Angeles. I've lived here. It is an interesting place to say the least. You have a lot of cars, and then you have a lot of space for cars, and then you have these tiny, tiny sidewalks where people should be able to walk. In an ideal world, like here, look at the amount of space for cars and the little amount for the walking area over there. That is what we are rallying against. I want to see here if we can't. Oh yeah, I've walked here. So imagine if we have the 2 lanes in the middle be. I really need a better placement for because my monitor arm blocks partially the view. I can see everything because if I squint with my right eye, I can see the entire screen. So I see everything. It's just annoying. Trash fires. Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that video. It is not good in LA at the moment. And partially that reason is they're not building homes for people. They're building houses as property investments. That is partially one of the issues. It didn't used to be that way. It wasn't always that way. But that is what they're doing. And that is why it's so fucking expensive to live in Los Angeles. Now, you can imagine these 2 middle lanes being for cars. And the rest of this street is for humans. Is for people. That would mean you can open up a cafe here that can have outdoor serving. Now, there are areas where this is possible. I've been to one of those, but they are few and far between. Very, very far between. Because everything is centered around the fucking car. And like here, you can see this is Los Angeles. This is Los Angeles. God, there's a lot of people there, though. Oh, scheisse, that's a lot of people. But I mean, and then the car came and just ruined everything, of course. Okay. Let's go back.
So that's just, I guess, on the face of it, why I don't support the 15-minute city idea. It's just people will say sometimes, oh, it's a good idea in concept, but in practice, it's like, no, even in concept, this is bad, but let's go deeper here. Because as a lot of people are pointing out, this whole thing reeks of WEF programming. So the attack against cars, it's complicated to explain. It also factors in.
Is that a dog whistle? WEF, like World Economic Forum programming? That feels like a dog whistle.
Into things like environmentalism, anti-freedom, and actually, as Bernie's tweets, okay, this account on Twitter pointed out, there aren't enough raw materials to replace 2 billion vehicles. 15-minute cities are being sold to you as a healthy utopia because there won't be enough cars to go around, so you'll have to borrow and share. Same with energy. So it's not just that they want people.
World Economic Forum. We went there earlier. The Great Reset. Like it's a right-wing conspiracy that they are trying to rule the world. Or they want to. I'm sure, but I mean they're not gonna. I'm not the most read up on the World Economic Forums, but yeah, it's a liberal conference more or less.
to drive less and walk everywhere, but they actually want people to not own cars at all. Okay, she includes this screenshot from the WEF. Recycling alone won't be enough to sustain the amount of materials needed. We need to increase sharing, reuse, and a preference for longevity to reduce demand. And they tout things like car sharing platforms and, just in general, public transit. I'm not against
Oh no, public transit, the horrors.
public transit. I'm not against people
Yes, you are.
biking places, but cars do represent freedom, okay? Unless you're living in a city, cars represent your ability to travel.
Unless you live in a city. I agree. If you don't live in a city, it is probably a good idea that you own a car. But we're talking about cities here, Lauren. 15-minute cities, not urban areas.
To leave, to go where you want to go. And frankly, as a mother, just practically, I don't want to have to be, lugging a toddler and groceries around on public transit. No, there's a reason why I want my car. And I've got to say, from my cold, dead hands, okay, you will pry my car from me. There's a reason why I spent all that time learning how to drive as an Asian woman. It wasn't easy. My spatial recognition or spatial reasoning is terrible, but I got it done because it's convenient. I'm not letting you take that away from me. Okay, something else that we also see here is that this isn't just conjecture, all right? This isn't just a pie in the sky idea that will never be implemented. We actually have places that are working towards this. The most infamous example is Oxfordshire.
Yeah, people make do all the time.
So this is a little town that actually tried to implement, I guess, a policy or regulation leading to 15-minute cities, and it predictably was met with big backlash from the people who live there. But there was a lot of gaslighting from the left saying, oh, you're overreacting. This isn't a big deal. We're just trying to make things more convenient for people. So because I don't want to be accused of misrepresenting something, here we actually have the policy that Oxfordshire was trying to put forward, the actual document, so we can see what this policy would have entailed. Essentially, it would have capped people from driving down certain roads or into certain areas on certain days, essentially trying to say, hey, if you live here, you can't drive your car out of there or we're going to fine you. And if that sounds...
No, I am 100% sure that if you live there and you have a parking space there, you're allowed to drive to that parking space. Because I've lived in areas where this is the case. You're allowed to drive to and from your home still. But the point is, people who don't live there shouldn't drive there.
Sounds dystopian. It's because it is. Okay, so they write, traffic filters are designed to reduce traffic, make bus journeys faster, and make walking and cycling more convenient and safer. When they are operating, private cars will not be allowed through certain sections of roads without a permit. All other vehicles, including buses, taxis, motorbikes, vans.
Without a it's in the fucking text, without a permit. Do you think people living there won't get that permit, Lauren? Really? You think people living there is just going to be forced to have their car parked permanently? Because, hey, you don't have a permit, you can't drive it. Of course they're going to get a permit. The parking space is them getting the permit. You troglodyte.
Mopeds, and HGVs will be allowed. Traffic signs identify the location of each traffic filter, including operational hours and vehicles that are exempt to travel through. And they will have automatic number plate recognition cameras that are going to be installed to monitor vehicles going through traffic filters. Traffic signs will identify the location of each filter. Any driver of vehicle that goes through the traffic filter,
including operational hours and vehicles that are exempt to travel through. Including operational hours and vehicles that are exempt to travel through.
And is not exempt or using a permit will be charged a penalty, which they say is £70. The traffic filters will operate 7 days.
Any driver of a vehicle that goes through the traffic filter and is not exempt
a week from 7
Not
a.m. to 7
exempt.
p.m. And the proposal includes 6 traffic filters. 3 of these will be located in the city center, and they have a little map. And as you can see, essentially what they've done is broken the city into little zones. And so if you cross a traffic filter stop, essentially leaving your zone, you're going to be fined. People who support the idea say, no, you can still drive wherever you want. You just need to go, around, leave the city, go around to ease congestion. That's ridiculous. They're trying to tell you where and when you can drive your car, or if not, they're going to fine you. Now, I'm not.
Lauren, are you against road laws? Are the government? Listen, people, the government, they're after me. They are here. They don't want you to know that they are prohibiting you from driving 100 miles per hour next to a school. They don't want you to know this. They're trying, nameless bureaucrats with WEF programming is trying to tell you you are not allowed to drive at high speeds next to a school. Don't let them win. Drive fast. What are you talking about, Lauren? We already have these laws. You're already not allowed to drive however the fuck you want. Seriously, listen to this again.
Filter stop, essentially leaving your zone, you're going to be fined. People who support the idea say, no, you can still drive wherever you want. You just need to go, around, leave the city, go around to ease congestion. That's ridiculous. They're trying to tell you where and when you can drive your car, or if not, they're going to fine you. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the status of this proposal is, but I think it's pretty crazy that it even got as far as it did. We are witnessing levels of control and monitoring that really would have been unheard of just a simple 10 years ago. And
no, Lauren, no. Growing up in Sweden, at least, I'm guessing most of Europe, we have experienced this all our lives. I can't imagine anyone who isn't under the age of 80 having not experienced this living in a city in Europe. And I'm not talking major cities, because there are no majors. Well, there are now, but there. Up until recently, Sweden had no major cities. And we still had these laws. I'm talking small cities having these laws. Where I grew up, there was a street where in the middle of the city, that during the weekends, you couldn't drive down. I believe it was during the weekends, at least. You couldn't drive it down during the day, because they were closed off. And during the summers, you're never allowed to drive down that road, because people are walking there. People are existing there. This is maybe new to you, because you're a fucking moron. But to Europe, this is perfectly normal. And I can't imagine this being, I don't remember the city she talked about, but I can't imagine this being the first time they are closing off a street for vehicles. It is just the first time they're doing it on this scale.
And people will say, it's just to make things convenient. It's just to alleviate traffic. But don't be fooled. There is more. They want control, all right? This is pushing a green agenda, and we actually have...
Oh my God. Not the green agenda. Oh my God. What are we supposed to do with all this greenery that you apparently want, Lauren? Didn't you want the green more? They've never seen a tree, but they have the green agenda. I know. It's not about the trees. They don't care about the trees. It's just about the... Fuck you. Okay? Fuck you.
Of an activist who somewhat said the quiet part out loud on GB News. We have this clip here.
Business as usual with cars and congestion just can't continue. I'm sorry. I wish that personal travel in its current form could continue, but in inner cities, it isn't working.
People like that
said the quiet part out loud. Lauren, that's been the explicit message from the beginning. What are you talking about? This has been public since the beginning. Nobody has been trying to hide the intentions. Do you really think it's sustainable in a major city in New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Miami, you name the city? Do you really think it is sustainable that every fucking person have their own fucking cars? Of course it's not. You know it's not. You just don't like major cities. Sorry. You don't like the cities. It's okay. But the cities need to be more human-centered. We have an opportunity in cities that doesn't exist outside of cities to make people not dependent on owning a car. It is perfectly possible to live in cities by the sheer scale of it, by the laws of numbers. You reach a critical mass at some point where cities become too densely packed for people to own their own cars. It is just a numbers game.
That are just the worst examples of far left city dwellers, and I mean that in a very derogatory.
And that is why she doesn't like this. Because the little known secret, or little hidden, the badly hidden secret of cities is that they make you left wing. It is true. The conspiracy is true. Living in a city where you interact with other people from other cultures, which is more likely in a city where you need to figure out how to coexist with so many people on such a small scale. It forces you into left-wing ideology, because the right-wing ideology creates misery. That misery functions outside the city, but by the sheer scale of things, it can't function in a city. But, and here's the thing with cars, they force you. The way the US is structured with its car-centric infrastructure, it forces you to not interact with people, to not get to know your neighbor, to not be crammed in a tiny space with lots and lots and lots of people. It forces you to that, which helps sustain the right-wing ideology of people. She lives in the country to avoid people. It makes sense she wants to do away with cities. Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't want cities to exist, period. But the thing is that she doesn't know is that cities subsidize the suburbs. Without cities, there would be no suburbs that she so much loves, apparently.
Way that I can think of. They are so used and addicted to urban living, being squished into a building and living on top of each other, that they can't even imagine that there's a way to alleviate traffic, which admittedly in cities is bad, that does not also simultaneously...
So she admits the traffic is bad in cities. Let's see if she can come up with a different solution that isn't let's build more road.
Infringe on people's autonomy and freedom. Like they are so addicted to living in the pod and probably eating the bugs. I'm sure someone like that guy totally would, that they can't even imagine that, hey, actually I could just move to the suburbs or a rural life and I could...
Wait! Lauren, why do you want him to move into a rural or suburb? Why do you want people who like to live in the city? I like to live in a city. I don't want to live in rural bumfuck nowhere because I like having being close to everything. I don't like to be in the smack dab of things necessarily. That depends because I don't like to live that tight. But if I can afford to live large in a large apartment in the middle of the city, I would absolutely do it. For sure. 100%. Why would you want to force me to not live that way, Lauren? Why are you so hell-bent on nobody living in the city in a way that functions for cities? Now, he has come up with a solution to help alleviate traffic. You claimed that he can't conceive of a different solution. No, he can. He absolutely can. I'm 100% sure that if you go up to him and say, you know how you can alleviate traffic? Move out to a rural area. And he goes, oh, of course. I don't want to live in a rural area. I like living in a city. Now, how do we fix the fucking city? Moving away from the city doesn't fix the city.
I could still have all of this, not get rid of cars, but I guess I wouldn't be able to order Uber Eats as often.
No. Lauren, listen. Uber Eats is part of the problem. Uber Eats is only necessary when you don't live in a 15-minute city. You fucking moron! You gave an example that is the opposite of what people are asking for. People want to get away from Uber Eats.
So they would rather just surrender to the likes of the WEF. It's absolutely insane.
Fuck you and your conspiracy theory. This has nothing to do with the WEF. Fuck you.
Insane. Now, so obviously people on the right, a lot of folks have been speaking up against this issue. And so naturally,
I'm betting most of those are rural people.
The gaslighting has started from the left, from Hayden Clarkin, same guy who gave that very rosy definition of a 15-minute city. Some crazy right-wingers have now spread conspiracy theories that this plan is a government cabal to imprison you because they believe that the idea of a 15-minute city means you can never leave, LOL. This all started with Jordan Peterson. Okay, so let's just...
that is the exact words that I have heard from you, Lauren. That is the exact words that I've heard from you, pretty much.
Discuss that idea now. So we have the 15-minute city. I've explained why I think it's a bad idea. But
Yeah, but you haven't given any alternative.
I guess kind of further than that, some people are also saying that not only will 15-minute cities be centrally planned, you're not going to be able to drive your car certain places at certain times, but now potentially they might just lock you in your quadrant. Now, this is an idea.
See, he just said.
Rendered to the likes of the WEF. It's absolutely insane. Now, so obviously, people on the right, a lot of folks have been speaking up against this issue, and so naturally, the gaslighting has started.
The gaslighting has begun. Listen to this.
From the left, from Hayden Clarkin, same guy who gave that very rosy definition of a 15-minute city. Some crazy right-wingers have now spread conspiracy theories that this plan is a government cabal to imprison you because they believe that the idea of a 15-minute city means you can never leave, LOL. This all started with Jordan Peterson. Okay, so let's discuss.
Okay, so he's laughing at right-wingers giving that. She's claiming this is gaslighting. Gaslighting, if you don't know it, is the original definition was, where it originated from, I should say, is from a play where a woman is being told that she's crazy because she's claiming things that happened. They actually happened. But people are gaslighting her into believing that she is crazy. By saying, no, that never happened. Are you crazy? Of course it didn't happen. What? No, your husband didn't hit you. No. You're imagining things. That is gaslighting at its core. In this context, she's claiming that the left is gaslighting the opponents of the 15-minute city by claiming that they claim that the government wants to imprison people. Or is she claiming is she claiming that we are laughing at them because they have actually uncovered a conspiracy to create open air prisons in the cities where we live? Like, we want to imprison ourselves. Is that the gaslighting? But we are laughing at them and calling them crazy for believing it? Or is the gaslighting that the right isn't actually saying this? Like, are we lying about them claiming this? Because Lauren, you continue with...
Discuss that idea now. So we have the 15-minute city. I've explained why I think it's a bad idea. But
You
I guess
explained
kind of
nothing.
further than that, some people are also saying that not only will 15-minute cities be centrally planned, you're not going to be able to drive your car certain places at certain times, but now potentially they might just lock you in your quadrant. Now, this is an idea that at least the likes of this guy and a bunch of leftist activists on Twitter are saying crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. Why would you think that? It's like, I don't know.
So that is crazy. You're right. That is crazy. Because why would we want to lock ourselves in? Like, it makes no sense at the face of it. Why would we want to lock ourselves into a 15-minute city?
Maybe it's because just a few years ago, you literally locked people in their own homes.
I have no words. First of all, I live in Sweden, so no, we didn't. We actually didn't do that. Second of all, that was a fucking pandemic. That was a life measuring thing we did. Imagine going back to the Black Plague and instilling, before the Black Plague, instilling in everyone, we have like one of those MIB flashlights, but a reverse one, where we can, like in the Matrix, just send information to people. Imagine we have one of those and we go cling, and we instow in them the knowledge of germ theory, and we instow in them how like how it spreads and stuff like that. They would lock themselves up so fucking fast to avoid anybody. Lauren, you're a fucking moron. This is legit crazy.
So, I mean, no, I don't think it's crazy to suggest that you might lock people within their neighborhood. Actually, being locked in a neighborhood is even better than being locked in a home. So considering you went there, yeah, people were cheering. They wanted more lockdowns, more restrictions. Yes, I absolutely 100% believe. I can imagine a world where you would say, no, you can't leave your neighborhood.
You know what? You know what? I can also imagine that world. It's called a pandemic.
If you do, there's a fine, or hey, maybe you can't leave at a certain time because carbon emissions, I don't know, pandemic. There's any number of reasons that these control freaks could use in order to restrict your movement. And I 100% believe that 15-minute cities.
Now, this is just a slippery slope argument, and it's the worst kind. Because there's no relation between restricting cars from traveling in the center of the city to restricting personal movement. There is zero relationship between these two things. She's just going straight down the slippery slope. Oh, what if we have 1984, New World Order? We have a camera in every home. We monitor everything, and you're not allowed to leave unless you have the inner party's signature passport, okay? Unless you have that, you cannot leave. Lauren, do you really think? Just think for a second. Do you really think they would care if we implemented a 15-minute city? Would they really go, but we didn't implement the 15-minute city, so we can't jump to authoritarianism yet? Okay? The first step to authoritarianism is restricting cars in cities. Yes, that's the step one before we go to authoritarianism. That is... No, wait, what? For a pedestrian in a car-centered city sprawl can feel like a trap. Yeah. There's a perfect image. Caricature. I love this. This is how cities feel today. You have a great chasm, the Grand Canyon, where no person can walk, and then you have these planks. This is America at the moment. This is American cities at the moment.
Pave the way for this to be possible. Essentially, it's like the Hunger Games. They're talking about restricting you.
I love that. This is the Hunger Games. We're going to create districts. There's going to be like 5 districts and you can't travel outside of them because 15-minute cities. We're going to force people to be bakers, force people to be miners because of 15-minute cities.
To a specific district, these people would do it. They absolutely would. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking, oh, that could never happen. It could happen. And the technology.
Okay, first of all, that could never happen. It's a fantasy book movie. It is fantasy because it will never happen. Just like 1984 will actually never happen and actually can't happen. Not because it's out of this world unbelievable, but because of how specific it is. You will... And these people, Lauren and the right-wingers, they always rail against the liberals for using Marvel. Oh, you liberals, you always use Marvel as a analogy. What, life isn't a Marvel movie, liberal? Well, life isn't a dystopian novel either. Con man.
Technology, by the way, is already there to do it. This isn't specifically in regard to a 50-minute city, but more just the idea of a smart city. We have this gentleman who's looking into this dystopian technology that we see in an Australian city.
I want to take a deep dive into your dystopian future under the digital surveillance state. It's right here. This little board here tells you how many times people have come through the park. Essentially, it tells you how many unconnected Wi-Fi devices there are in. So that would be everyone's phone. Imagine a lockdown scenario, another emergency, another COVID outbreak, or monkeypox, or whatever you like. You name it, we'll make it up. 6 devices in this park at the moment. That's down 50% for normal. Your local government, your state government, your federal government want it to be none. And this will tell you.
15 minutes.
So that had nothing to do with 15-minute cities. That had zero, bumpkus, fuck all to do with 15-minute cities. It was all just to scare you. Now, granted, I can conceive, because China exists, of a world where government overreach happens. And government overreach uses this kind of technology. I can conceive of that world because it exists. That doesn't mean that 15-minute cities will lead to that. You have to be specific, Lauren, in your critique, and you're not. I have more of an issue with the distance because of the distance I have to plan one thing to do if anything goes wrong. Oh, well, day ruined. Yeah. Having to travel a long distance, and if your car breaks down, well, you're just fucked. You're just plain fucked.
Minute cities are not just about saving the environment. They're not
No.
just about...
You know what? They're not. 15-minute cities isn't about saving the environment at all. It's about saving the human psyche.
convenience. And
It is about convenience. That is actually what it's about.
And don't let the left try to convince you to surrender your freedoms in the name of actually helping you live a better life, because we know that that is never what happens, and that is never ultimately their goal.
Lauren, nobody is forcing anybody to live in the city. Imagine, I want to take Lauren to Italy City. Like, these cities are... There's a reason you don't have American cars in Europe. And that is because you can't drive American-sized cars in Europe. I just want a height. Okay, here. Imagine you owning a car and living here, Lauren. Like, good luck. Good fucking luck. We have I can't remember the name. Visby. Here. You live here. People live here. Imagine driving a car down. You're allowed to drive a car here. You're actually allowed to drive a car. You're just not allowed to park it because there's no fucking parking here. But look at this. It is absolutely beautiful. I love Visby. It is a medieval city on a summer island in Sweden. Within these walls, there are a lot of people living, but only in the summers. In the winter time, it is dead, unfortunately. But look at this. You are allowed to drive here if you have business there with the car. You're not allowed to drive there without business. But this is a 15-minute city. You can get anything you want within a 15-minute radius within these borders. But that would be hell to Lauren, apparently. Hey, heathen. Well, welcome back, I want to say. Weren't you on a stream some time ago? Okay, let's finish this video.
This is bad news. Oppose things like this, measures like this at every corner. Anytime someone wants more control over your life, the answer needs to be a hard no. And instead of just always playing defense, trying to swat down these crazy ideas, the right needs to go on offense and start getting rid of control, start getting rid of regulation. Otherwise, we're just going to be playing catch up with these progressive activists, and we're never really going to gain any ground. But it's pretty much all I have to say. The answer needs to be a hard no. And instead of just always playing defense, trying to swat down these crazy ideas, the right needs to go on offense and start getting rid of control, start getting rid of regulation. Otherwise, we're just going to be playing catch up with these progressive activists, and we're never really going to gain any ground. But it's pretty much all I have to say for now. Stay aware. This stuff is everywhere. Until next time.
Very interesting. Very interesting. She wants to get rid of control. The thing with the 15-minute city is that it does get rid of some control. Zoning laws are opened up. That is a form of control. Now, the reason... My God, it itches. The reason she doesn't like that form of control being opened up is because it's control that homeowners have at the moment. And homeowners don't want their homes being devalued. Because that is what happens when you build more housing. If you're allowed to build apartment buildings, like you can have the suburbs, you can have American suburbs. Now you can have these horrible, horrible places. But imagine you have like a center for them. Like you can have a center. You take this area right here, or even bigger, perhaps. And you can have like a mini town there. We have some high rises. You have like a 5-story building over here. You have a 3-story building over there. You have some human-centric stores and scale on the ground floor where people can walk and sit on a bench and watch the birds and just live as people. Now, if you were to buy these homes at the moment and build this here, you know what? What is this here? What is this here? Remove all this and make this that. Could you imagine? The reason it won't happen is because it would devalue every other person's home. And this is the big one, black people could afford to move in. That is, without a doubt, a big component of why they don't want that. The urban flight of the 80s. Was it the 80s? I'm sure it kept going on in the 80s at least. 80s, 90s, 70s. The urban flight to the suburbs by white people was because black people could afford to live in apartments. Let's just see what her comments are saying. You know, I remember the school lesson when I was in seventh grade. We were supposed to design a compact, self-sufficient city that was bicycle accessible. I don't recall them calling it a 15-minute city, but this just goes to show how the indoctrination has been happening in schools for a long time. I turned 60 this year. We did this in the 1970s. I personally love the countryside and would prefer to live rurally. People need to wait. I don't like that, and therefore it's indoctrination. 94% of Oxford citizens said they didn't want the 15... Oxford, okay. Oxford, 15-minute city. Tyranny. I need what's it called? Survey. The sample. How far people are prepared to walk. We asked people what they thought was a reasonable time to spend getting to these basic amenities. Using a sliding scale for the answer across the whole sample. Walk for up to 10 minutes, 97%. Walk for 15 minutes, 75%. Walk for up to 20 minutes, 41%. A lot of people seem to like being able to walk where they want. Priority amenities for 15-minute neighborhoods, parks, or other green spaces. Oh, it's the whole sample, 450. So over 300 people want that. Shops selling basics include newspapers, post office, a health, pharmacy, supermarket, cafe, pub. We're getting down to under 50%. But yeah, this sliding scale is not surprising to me. Playground, however, that is surprising that that's so low. I think every 15-minute area should have a playground, for sure. But I want to see... The city council has asserted that planning is not to coerce residents into staying in one neighborhood, but to address awful congestion in the city center, which it argues is making public transport in Oxford unviable. Like, this is what... Imagine being such a fucking snowflake that you're against public transportation being viable. Traffic filters will not take the form of physical barriers. Instead, new traffic cameras, which can read number plates, will be installed. These were first introduced in 2015 as part of the Oxford Transport Strategy, with Magdalen Street being covered by one. Filters will operate on St. Cross Street, blah, blah, blah. However, it is important to note that the travel to other areas of Oxford will be permitted by alternative routes such as the ring road surrounding the city at any time. Residents will also be able to apply for permits to drive through filters and into other neighborhoods for up to 100 days a year, while Oxfordshire residents will be able to secure permits for up to 25 days a year. Free travel through filters will be allowed by bus, taxi, scooter, and walking. Exemptions will also be provided for carriers, blue badge holders, businesses, and emergency service. This element of the plan is indicative of its aims to incentivize sustainable private and public transport, with Oxfordshire County Council wanting to make such modes of transport the natural first choice. Like, I don't know, residents will also be able to apply for permits to drive through filters and into other neighborhoods. Other neighborhoods, not their own neighborhoods, other neighborhoods, which means, I'm guessing, that they can drive into their own neighborhoods without a problem. 94%. Where is this number coming from? Arm up and stop them. Yeah. 74% of resident panels said they were very concerned, and 16% said they were fairly concerned when asked about the impacts which can arise from worsening climate change. And nothing to do with 15 minutes. What is a 15-minute city? How the urban planning ideas is tangled in a conspiracy. Some thoughts of living in a 15-minute city from perspective of night. Can we just get a 94% somewhere? Nope. Wait. So here is the Jordan Peterson. What is happening in Oxford? Didn't I see Jordan Peterson? Did he pop up? Jordan Peterson said on Twitter, the idea that neighborhoods should be walkable is lovely. Lovely. The idea that idiot tyrannical bureaucrats can decide by fiat where you're allowed to drive is perhaps the worst imaginable perversion of that idea. And make no mistake, it's part of a well-documented plan. Sure. The conspiracy theorists claim that surveillance technology will be used to confine people to their neighborhoods. Katie Hopkins, why is that name familiar? Oh, okay. Well, let's hear what she has to say first. Katie Hopkins is among those falsely claiming that license plate recognition and electronic gates will force people to remain in their neighborhoods. Hopkins used the example of low-traffic neighborhoods in Oxford to share the misinformation. Okay, who is Katie Hopkins? She is a far-right politician. Let's see here. Trolled? Here. I flew Katie Hopkins to Prague to win a fake award.
The recipient.
Basically, and they're just shitting on her. Like, they spend so much money just to fool her into believing she had won an award. And they have the... Is that the... That's the Firefox logo, apparently. Okay. And they hired actors. These are actors. And then they had cunt as she got the award. It is absolutely lovely. I love this.
A stupid fake award. Her spreading of hatred by playing on her ego and making her look a little bit silly. Anyway, to finish off, here's a message from our chairman.
Hi everyone, Leslie Peters here, the chairman of the Cape Town Collective for the Freedom of Speech. It's with great sadness that I have to report that Katie has been banned on Twitter, and as a result thereof, she can no longer be a member of this society. Goodbye.
Okay, there was a link. That is... I want to see what else people have to say here before I go into the link that you provided, Blaze. Lauren already mentioned many aspects about such a small city. Let's call it district from now on. I can think of one negative aspect she might not mention yet. I will rewatch her video hours later. Man, you are dedicated. What about product or business qualities? I'm afraid they will deteriorate. Many business owners will think, why should I make more costs by doing more efforts for better qualities when the number of my customers is guaranteed? They really think that just because you're a 15-minute city, you can only have one of everything in that area. That is not how it works at all. All my customers must frequent my shop because they're not allowed to drive to another district for a better shop, mall, business than my own. And to be fair, I would understand them if they really start to think that way. Like they are just out of this world. They are the Blaze TV. They are blazing it up. Holy shit. I lived in China, and this is what they currently do. This traffic system is how they operate. WEF wants the world to be China. No, they don't. They have commie block apartments in Asia. Lauren, this is the first time I've seen or heard you, and I have to say you're awesome. I guarantee with your perspective and your delivery, it's smooth and easy to listen to. Keep up with the great work. Well, thank you, Lorena Harding. That is amazing. I must admit that I like the idea. Listen to this. Even after hearing this conspiracy nonsense, people actually I like this idea. But it can only work in small cities. No, it can work in small cities. That's sure. That's true. But it is needed in large cities. I live in a small city. The city I live is in the county seat, and we only have 6 stoplights. Now that is a small city. I had to give up a car because of my disability. I used to live in an apartment that was a few miles outside of the middle of our tiny city. I had to take the bus everywhere. I recently moved to an apartment that is 1 block from the street. I'm not going to read all that. My town is so small that we have no store, no post office. I love it. Well, good for you. I can travel 15 minutes in 2 directions for gas, groceries, and medical appointments. For clothing, farm supplies. I know where I can get farm supplies here in my city. But I wouldn't mention that because I'm not a farmer. Movies I travel 40 minutes for. I don't want to change Then don't change your fucking life. Nobody is demanding you change your life. Yeah, that's the spirit. That's what I'm looking for. No, we won't. We don't want to live in the rural areas. We are talking about our lives. God, they are annoying. Okay. So that was fun. I enjoyed that video. Because of what the because of how much I got to scream at Lauren. That was cathartic. That was I enjoyed that.